Have you ever used a debossing cover die? Today I've got 2 fun ideas to share with you. Hello and welcome. It's time for another Take 2 with Therese Altenew, and I've got 2 beautiful cards that I'm going to be making with you using this dotted Geo Cover Die. Now this is not a normal cover die. It doesn't actually cut, it pierces a pattern in the cardstock. Now Altenew have a few of these and this is their newest one, and I love that it's got that center area that's flat so you can actually stamp a sentiment if you want to. Now what I wanted to do was do some blending, so I didn't want to blend the center. So for me to work out where the center was going to be, I thought the easiest way was to create a hinge for my die, and I've actually marked the 4 corners for this die. I've got a circle die that fits just within the circle here, and I'm basically tracing my lead pencil on top of the cutting edge of this circle die, and then I'm going to tape it in place. I don't know if this is the easiest way to do this, but it's the only way I could think of. Someone clever out there will probably know a much easier way to do this, but what it did was added a couple of pencil marks to the center of my cardstock, and that was where I could put my masking paper, which I die cut with the same die. I have left those tick marks on the corners so that I know exactly where to put the die when I do come back in and add the debossing, but I just wanted to be able to keep that center white if I could. My backup plan, I'll tell you about it a bit later on. I did have a backup plan if it didn't work. Anyway, I've used the Pistachio, it's one of the Frozen Delights. It's one of those really pale colours. It's really pretty. And I just blended the background with that. I wasn't too worried about the blending because I knew I was going to be doing some stamping over top. But this is a special stamp. It's actually Lush Garden stamp set, but the base layer of the stamp set is actually a stencil. So if you want the whole image stamped, you actually need to stencil the base layer and then come in and stamp the layers after. And I'm using the shades of purple for this, and I didn't want, it does have like a black outline and I could have come in and used that as well, but I really just wanted this to be a little bit more subtle, a subtle kind of like pattern paper almost. So I lined up the image. I made sure when I was stamping too that I got some portions of the images on the edges of the card design where I'm going to be cutting it out, and also into the circle as well. I did exactly the same. The leaves are built exactly the same. So the base layer of the leaf I had to blend first, and then I came in and stamped. And for that one I used the Spring Bouquet set of inks. I thought these bright greens and purples looked really fun together. I stamped the center of the flowers with some lava rock and then came in and just used a block. I couldn't be bothered lining up the very center, and I used some Obsidian black ink to stamp the very last portion that I was going to do on these flowers. So this is where I'm going to hold my breath. I'm lining up the dotted Geo Cover Die with those marks that I made on my cardstock. I have removed the masking paper before I did this. I didn't want it to be impressed as I ran it through my die cutting machine. And I did mark on the top of my die, which I thought was the top. I don't know if it actually makes any difference. I ran it through a normal sandwich but did add a shim because my Big Shot's getting quite old now. And the big reveal, it worked. Do you want to know what my backup plan was? I was going to pop up a sentiment over top of the whole center. Did you guess that? I'll bet you did. All right, I did come in. I put the mask back on temporarily while I added some pure white and some antique gold ink splats, and I waited for those to dry between each of those, and after that it dried, then I could remove the mask. The sentiment I'm going to be using today is from the Versatile Greetings die set, and this is a layered sentiment, but I'm only using the actual word, and I'm layering it up with some white cardstock and used a jet black cardstock on the top. I want to do a sub sentiment, so what I'm doing here is I'm stamping out the words with love, and I've done it on a scrap piece of paper to make sure that it was straight and I was happy with it, but I wanted to add this little ampersand that comes in the stamp set, and this is in the Lush Garden stamp set as well. So I want to say with love and hugs, but it's such a tiny little sentiment. By having stamped the word with love and then the and, I could keep moving the little ampersand around until I was happy with the placement before I committed to my card design. Hope that makes sense. My backup plan, you already knew what that was, don't you? I was going to pop everything up on top and cover the circle, but I didn't have to in the end. So I've cut my panel down, I've adhered it to the front of an A2 side fold card, and then I just used some liquid glue to attach the word hugs. And I have stamped a couple of silhouette butterflies in the Obsidian as well, and cut them out with the coordinating dies, and they're from the Meadow Reflections stamp set. I just really like the way that the black pops on this background. I think if I had tried to add the black outline to the flowers, it would have been too much. Alright, so I'm on to my second card design now, and I had already blended out a background of green and purple, and I didn't like it, so I thought I'll try and save it, and I ran it through the die cutting machine. The same again, I did add a shim and using the dotted Geo Cover Die, but this time what I thought I could do is add another colour on top of the blended background that I'd already done. I had nothing to lose, it's only a piece of cardstock. I did cut it down though, so it was going to fit a bit better on the front of the card. I didn't want to use the whole thing. And initially I came in with the Aqualicious, and it was just too purpley and pale. I couldn't get the depth that I wanted. So then I came in with the Dusk, and that certainly turned out so much better. And I did need to deepen the green as well. So I came in with the lime green over top, and I think these two colours looked really pretty together. But I also wanted to do a bold black sentiment because I thought that would stand out. And I wanted a negative space sentiment. So I did die cut a circle and the word hi from the Bold Greetings die set, and I've added a piece of acetate behind. But to line up that little tiny piece of the H, what I've done is I've just inset the word hi again into the negative space. Then I can glue that little piece in and then simply remove the word hi it didn't have any adhesive on it, and that just means it's going to be exactly where it needed to be. I didn't have to guess. So I've doubled up the foam tape here because I did want this to sit nice and high off the card front, but the actual background is adhered directly to the card front. I've added some essential black and white foam, no they're not, enamel dots and another butterfly. So very different cards. These two cards are very different using the same debossing die. I hope I've given you a couple of ideas to create a floral background or to create a blended pattern background with a debossing die, and maybe add a butterfly or a flower or two. Thanks for joining me. Until next time, bye.
Hello crafters, Jen here. For more tips, techniques, tutorials, and to discover which paper crafting products are right for you, subscribe to Altenew's YouTube channel. Make sure to hit the notification bell so you don't miss any videos. Thanks for watching.